Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you. I hope that you're feeling fantastic. Now, short story time. So, I joined a media company, and part of the game was writing. And I can guarantee you that I hated writing, or so I convinced myself. Because, number one, I didn't like pitching, because deep down, I had convinced myself that, you know what? Your ideas are shallow, you are not as good as the rest. And at that time, I was a newbie. So during the editorial meetings, I was quiet. Yes, I had ideas, like my mind breathes ideas all the time, but I kept them to myself because I always felt like I'm not worthy to do so, or I'm too young, or less informed, or less experienced, or they won't like my ideas. Fast forward to 6 months in the company, that is when I started slowly pitching, of course, from where I got the positive criticism. And I started enjoying some writing as well. The team also loved my ideas, and they helped me like make them better. So confidence, yeah. So I asked myself, why was I even reluctant and afraid? Because now I still have like plenty of ideas I did not unbag, and plenty of opportunities that I missed because of fear. But at least I got to the point where, you know what, I felt worthy enough to pitch no matter the outcome, like whether the feedback was going to be negative or positive. We learn. So today's video, inspired by one Adam Skimoni, is about self-sabotage. Now, in his own words, Adam describes self-sabotage as the kryptonite of progress and a growth mindset. I couldn't agree more. We've often discussed that everything you do begins from your mindset, and that having the right mindset is the biggest key to success. But it's difficult to make such achievements, like the achievements you want, when you're sabotaging like any effort or any attempt that you make. The saddest part is that some of us may not even be aware that we are self-sabotaging, and some are not even familiar with the term self-sabotage. And that is why when Adam brought it up, I had to agree, and I was like, you know what, this is an important discussion to have. I was struggling to come up with the right way to convey my knowledge on self-sabotage, and I can't say I'm an expert, but there's a lot I can say about the self-sabotaging, both from my personal experience, like I've shared, and also the resources that I have read. There is plenty to learn from. In the end, I figured what better way to do this than share my experience with self-sabotage and how I dealt with it, or rather how I continue dealing with it. Before we get into some more story time, let me paint a picture of you to you of what self-sabotage really looks like. You have been waiting for this big opportunity, and the opportunity is finally here. Now all you need to do is meet your clients, present your pitch, and done deal. Now, still the whole thing seems too good to be true for you. Now, all of a sudden, you don't feel worthy of such an opportunity. You start becoming anxious and worried that, you know what, I'm going to mess this up, to an extent that you start doing things that will result in you losing the opportunity. I can give an example: being late for a meeting or not preparing enough. I can give you a million scenarios of self-sabotage in different aspects of life, including relationships, careers, education, and a lot. But personally, self-sabotage was a plague I struggled with, like in all aspects of my life. And I always used to feel like the most inferior person among people. Like I never thought I was the smartest one or the most capable one. Like I would always doubt myself and my capability at every single turn. So whenever an opportunity came or presented itself, I wasn't the first to jump at it. Instead, I was the first to say, I'm not sure I can do it. Even though deep down I knew I was certain that I am the best, or I was the best person for the job, I was just like, you know what, I am not. I convinced myself that I was being modest when in reality, I was avoiding these opportunities. Now, mostly because I was afraid of failing or what people would think, or being a disappointment. As a result of my sabotage, I'd feel guilty. There was a lot of regret and disappointment, like for every single opportunity that I lost, or for every chance that I messed up. And you know what? This would in turn feed, it's like food, to my low self-esteem and my self-doubt and anxiety and fear, which honestly seemed like further proof that I was truly not capable of succeeding. I didn't know this at the time, but all this was signs of my self-sabotaging. Now, I was caught up in a cycle where self-sabotage had become like a chronic habit. You may realize that maybe you're in the same cycle right now, or at least you can relate to once being in the same cycle. But why do we really self sabotage, and how does it start? From my experience, I have found out that self sabotage mainly results from lack of self awareness and being in toxic relationships or environments. Now, when you're surrounded by people who feed you negativity about yourself, it becomes really, really difficult to believe that you could be anything more than that, like more than where you've actually put yourself. And the truth is that no one was born loathing or criticizing or doubting themselves. All these are things that we learned, or you learned maybe from home or school or your neighborhood and so on. Now, when you talk about self-sabotage, it could even develop in your adult life, and not necessarily because of childhood traumas, maybe because of a toxic relationship, or again, your work environment, that is in adulthood. Self-sabotaging like slowly becomes a habit that we find ourselves like constantly giving excuses, procrastinating, waiting for the right moment, like in the name of perfectionism and so on. How do you overcome self-sabotage? As I said, I am not an expert, so the most I can do is share with you my journey. Now, the first thing I did was acknowledge that I was self-sabotaging my progress. And from there, I began like introspecting to find out why I was doing this to myself. And then I realized that I didn't know who I was. Now, the opinions I had of myself were merely echoes of what people had told me about myself, like my whole life. So I set out to find myself. Think of it as getting to know a new friend. I began to be like more self-aware, which helped me uncover something really important about my self-sabotage. It was actually a cycle. Like it all starts with one negative thought that results in a negative emotion and then leads to an action which goes against like your intended goal. If you have a big client, who could like open doors for you like in your career, but you begin thinking that maybe I'm not qualified enough, or maybe I don't deserve this opportunity. Like that negative thought results in you feeling like anxious, incompetent, and insecure, clouded with negative emotions. Now you forget to set your alarm early, or you're late for the meeting, or you call the client to reschedule. Any a fake emergency. So I have found that in all this, like it all starts from the thoughts. If you can challenge the negative thoughts, then you can prevent yourself from sabotaging your own success. And to challenge those thoughts, you just need three things. Like you have to get to know yourself outside people's opinion. That is very, very important. You also have to learn how to appreciate yourself, and you have to invest in building your confidence and self-esteem, because no one is going to do that for you. Like in short, treat yourself like you would treat a friend or a loved one. Give yourself the same support you give to others. And of course, I mean, it's easier said than done. It will take some time, and for some, even like you'll be required to get like professional help in order to overcome like the negative perception that you have of yourself. It also takes time to block the negativity around you and learn to trust like in your capabilities. But as long as you're intentional and you put your effort into making this change, you will succeed and overcome like the self-sabotage eventually. And like I said before, self-sabotage is a deep and vast topic, but I hope that this video has helped shed some light on it. Now, I'm not an expert in it, but I'd be more than happy to hear your thoughts and experiences with self-sabotage. Now, thank you so much, and remember, get to know yourself outside people's opinions, learn to appreciate yourself, and invest in building your confidence and self-esteem. So see you in the next video. Goodbye.